Hey y'all, it's Kim. So I was watching Gutfeld today, and of course, there's a Vanity Fair, what is it, article about why are so many Americans, I guess, using protein now, and they're kind of almost saying it's a MAGA thing. But I don't know if y'all remember this, but this lady, it says apparently Trump's racist policies cause chemical changes in the body of strong Black independent women to make them eat a lot more and become morbidly obese. Says racism has made them fat, not food choices, not personal responsibility, not culture, not doing exercise, and not self-control. No, none of these things. It's all Donald Trump and my racism's fault. So let's listen to her. I've seen this clip several times and I thought, oh my gosh, this is where we're at. But I got something else for you.
When people talk about Black women being obese, I hate it because it becomes a way to blame us for a set of conditions that we didn't create. We are living in the Trump era. And look, those policies kill our people. And what public health practitioners think is that our stress responses in the body change our metabolism. It's literally that the racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
That's dumb. All right. So then this is a Time magazine. I'm not sure when this was printed, but it says the white supremacist origins of exercise and six other surprising facts about the history of U.S. physical fitness. And I guess they're trying to say all these guys are white. Some of them look probably like Italian or something. I'm just saying. I mean, yes, I guess this Caucasoid, but still Caucasian. But why would it be bad? It says a 1922 photo of NYC officer workers showing off their weightlifting skills. And this is Bettman Archive. Okay, so this was updated December 28th, 2022, 11:56 a.m. Originally published December 28th, 2022 at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. It says, how do U.S. exercise trends go from reinforcing white supremacy to celebrating Richard Simmons? Oh my goodness. That evolution is explored in a new book by historian of exercise, Natalia Melman Petrozella. Sorry if I messed that up. Author of the book Fit Nation, The Gains and Pains of America's Exercise Obsession, out January 2023. Nowadays, at the beginning of every new year, many Americans hit the gym to work off their holiday feast. This momentum usually starts to fade in mid January, according to a 2019 analysis of data on fitness tracking apps by Bloomberg. But such New Year's resolutions are pretty new, as is the concept of exercise as a way to improve bodily health. It's really not until the 1980s that you start to have a consensus that everybody should be doing some form of exercise, says Melman Petrozella, I guess. Anyway, the professor at her new school in New York City, that's partly the result of the women's movement of the 1960s and 70s, which fought for Title IX, allowing girls to play school sports. That pushed back on notions that girls and women aren't capable of doing vigorous exercise because they're fragile. Perfect for reading on the treadmill or stationary bike. The below conversation with Melman Petrozella outlines the earliest ideas on exercise, delves into the history of various popular workouts and the outsized influence of Richard Simmons. Your book, Fit Nation, starts out by talking about how fat was something to aspire to, and that was a sign of wealth and happiness. How did Americans go from a mentality of fat is good to skinny is better? One of the things I set out to do in this book is to look at the change in how we think about our bodies and what's considered attractive. Until the 1920s or so, to be that would be considered today fat or bigger was actually desirable and actually signified affluence, which is like the polar opposite of today when so much of the obesity epidemic discourse is connected to socioeconomic inequality, and to be fat is often to be seen as to be poor. How did that happen? Well, in a moment when actually there wasn't a lot of access to caloric foods, to be fat showed that you could afford these things that were out of the reach of most people. And also, you could afford to rest, like you weren't out there doing manual labor all day. As that caloric food became more accessible and as more people were doing sedentary collar work and had access to cars and leisure, somebody who could resist those caloric foods, exercise, and have a thin body was seen as more desirable. And then, what's the most surprising thing you learned in your research? Let's see. It was super interesting reading the reflections of fitness enthusiasts in the early 20th century. They said we should get rid of corsets. Corsets are an assault on women's forms, and that women should be lifting weights and gaining strength. At first, you feel like it's so progressive. Then you keep reading, and they're saying white women should start building up their strength because we need more white babies. Oh my gosh. They're writing during an incredible amount of immigration soon after enslaved people have been emancipated. Oh my goodness. This is totally part of a white supremacy project. So that was a real holy crap moment as a historian where deep archival research really reveals the contradictions of this moment. It says your book talks about how at one point America's focus was on exercising so we could have a population that was ready to go to war. What is health and fitness culture training us to do? And how has that expectation evolved over time? It says during the New Deal of the 1930s, the civilian conservation corps, would recruit out of net or out of work or impoverished scrawny men to go work in the forest and on public work projects. One of the ways that they marketed this was it puts muscles on your bones. That really picked up during the Cold War. Right after World War II, you start to have more concern about Americans getting soft. This idea that the things that made America great, like cars and TV sets, were actually taking a toll on Americans' bodies. President Eisenhower and Kennedy went on a mission to make exercise look wholesome and patriotic and focus on shifting the purpose of exercise to being a good citizen defending your country. In the 1980s, there's a huge boom in the fitness industry connected to this work hard, play hard mentality. I was also really moved speaking to gay men who had lived through HIV and AIDS and talked about how they exercised to display that they had a healthy body at a moment when there was so much homophobia. Some gyms became like community centers sharing medical information, almost like mutual aid societies. Another big turning point is 9/11. You see a boom in the CrossFit mentality of almost like militarized fitness and girding yourself and your body for a fight. Not necessarily, by the way, in the 1950s and 60s way of fighting for the U.S. Army, but more like you need to know how to perform functional fitness to protect yourself if things go wrong. At the same time, you see an emphasis on wellness, self-care, and healing and being meditative in an increasingly traumatic and unpredictable world. What era of fitness are we in now? Gym usage is rebounding rapidly since the pandemic lockdown ordinances, but now it's also really efficient for a lot of people to exercise at home. What's so unfortunate about the pandemic is how much it accelerated fitness inequality. Oh my gosh. You can go home and be on your Peloton if you can afford it, if you have the space for it, but not everyone can. And that's not everybody else's fault. So this is so stupid. It says, I was meeting with somebody who's very active in the New York City pickleball world. And you will have all of these adults who want to do this exclusive or inclusive recreational thing. And they're competing with children who want to go out and skateboard and do basketball. Those are wonderful things. We don't have the public space to accommodate them. Did you find an exercise that people don't do now but they did do in a certain period of history that's just comical to think about. Reducing machines are a really good example of an exercise machine that just went away. Well into the 1960s, women were not encouraged to do any kind of strenuous exercise, but they were, of course, encouraged to do whatever it took to be beautiful and slim. So you would either lie down like on a bed or stand with the belt around you, and the machine would shake your fat. I have a vibration plate. I don't think it does that much work. I'm just going to say it. Okay, they were meant to enhance circulation, but also to shake away cellulite. Reducing machines were everywhere. People would buy them for their houses. And there was one called the Magic Couch that every woman wanted for Christmas. The idea that all bodies can exert themselves and work hard, including women's bodies, is really positive development. And it's one of the reasons that you don't see those passive exercise machines anymore. Ooh, that looks painful. Ooh, no, 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 thank you. In Philadelphia, a woman works out on a machine designed to roll away fat while boxing champion Philadelphia Jack O'Brien looks on. Ooh, that sounds very painful. To roll away the fat. Ooh. Okay, how did running become a popular exercise in the 1970s? It's often hailed as a great equalizer, an exercise everyone can do with hardly any gear required. And did you find that to be the case? It says it became popular among environmentalists, people who were imagining that it would what it would be like to be in a culture that was not centered around cars. The sneakers back then were pretty rudimentary, old work shoes with rubber soles. But it's important to point out that access was never totally equal. If you lived in a neighborhood didn't have safe streets or streets that were not well lit, women were catcalled, people of color were thought of to be committing a crime. The running is for everybody discourse still quite often leaves out the fact that depending on where you live and the body that you live in, it can be very different kind of experience. Oh my goodness, it's excuse after excuse, it sounds like here. It says your book has so many interesting stories about the origins of various workouts. I learned that Pilates can be traced all the way back to World War One, when its founder Joseph Pilates was detained on the Isle of Man and created resistance contraptions out of hospital beds to help prisoners of war keep up their muscle strength. How can the influence of Pilates be seen in today's fitness culture? Uh, let's see. That sets the foundation for the idea that exercise isn't an indulgent little hobby some people have. It's actually something that can keep you healthy. Joseph Pilates came to the United States developing his system that he first called controlology. Controlology, I can't say that. And he became really an important part of the dance and performance community. And that did a lot to raise the bar on what fitness represented, because as I talk about it at length, a lot of the cultural associations with fitness were like dank gymnasiums and big muscular men heaving weights. It sounds like Pilates made exercise seem like something that could be graceful too. Yes, Pilates studios on 8th Avenue in Manhattan was patronized by opera star and ballet dancers who are working on their bodily strength, so that it did a lot to sanitize and upgrade the reputation of fitness. A lot of people embraced exercise as something that could make them look like a dancer. Oh, there's Richard Simmons. Oh my goodness. Yes, he was big time in the 80s. It says fitness guru Richard Simmons sings along, or I guess along with one of the 60s classic tunes playing during one of his classes at Slimmon's studio March 9th, 2013 in Beverly Hills. And then it says, going into this book, the only famous fitness instructor I'd heard of was Richard Simmons, and how influential was he? He's really important in terms of shift who was welcome in gyms. One of the reasons that he ended up starting his own studio is that he went to this very famous studio, Gilda Marks, and he absolutely loves aerobics. But he was asked not to come back because women didn't feel comfortable working out with the man who was singing and so emotive during his workout. And I think he opened a studio where everybody felt welcome there, including fat people. Is she not supposed to say fat? Obese. Anyway, who felt like they couldn't step foot into a health club or a studio to take an aerobics class because no one looked like them there. Today, you see quite a few fat people, excuse me, obese, in the fitness industry who are operating from a better perspective, which is that your body size does not necessarily dictate your fitness level. We should not presume that because you're fat that you're not fit or that you want to lose weight. And I think that we probably couldn't have had that without Richard Simmons. What's the future of fitness? I would love for the future of fitness not only to be about Wi-Fi connected treadmills and luxury clubs where people can go out and drink green juice after their workout, but rather for a collective public investment in making fitness and recreation available to everybody and much more accessible than it currently is. We do agree as a culture for the most part that exercise is good, but our policy environment has not caught up with that. We should acknowledge that one of the few things that we can agree on in our culture and then have a kind of bipartisan shared investment in better physical education, better recreation spaces for kids and adults. And I guess that's it for that. But like, this is so dumb. It says, why are Americans so obsessed with protein? Blame it MAGA. From the Liver King to the podcast bros to RFK Jr.'s MAHA constituents, America's infatuation with protein has reached a fever pitch and it's undeniably gendered. So men, Kezia Weir, something like that. I don't know who this Liver King is, but whatever. I'm not eating no damn liver. Let's see. We'll just read a little bit of this. Oh, we can actually listen to it, but I don't want to do the whole thing. I just wanted to read this part. It says TikTok content creators are hawking powders from Just Move and Rise. Netflix is teasing its documentary Untold, The Liver King, which tracks the rise and fall of the raw meat enthusiast. Out later this month, influential podcast bros from the physician Peter Attia to the very well-paid Joe Rogan swap protein-heavy diet anecdotes and share their current state of protein supplementation. One of this year's most talked about shows, season 3 of The White Lotus, derived a whole thread of narrative tension from what could only be described as Chekhov's protein shake. I mean, I'm not going to try to read this whole thing. That's just the dumbest crap. You have to blame MAGA for it? Really? How dumb is that? Anyway, they were talking about that on Gutfeld, and I just thought that is the stupidest thing ever. People worried about freaking being overweight just because of a diet and because you're black. That's so dumb. What does it say? Protein. Let's see. What is this? Let's just see what comes up with this. Like I said, I don't read the whole thing. That's, to me, it's already stupid. Yeah, the protein. I saw that. Yeah, this thing. Let's see what they have to say. Oh, please. I don't know if that's going to be on here. Ugh. Yeah, that's so dumb. Yeah, I can't find it. It's not readily popping up here, but that is a very dumb article that you have to blame MAGA for something like that. Let's see what this Liver King is. I'd at least like to know that. I don't know who he is. Oof. Political absurdity. Oh, okay, there's that article. It says continues to escalate in the realm of health and fitness on May 1st. Vanity Fair, the inspiration of the Capitol's wardrobe and the Hunger Games. Oh my gosh, publish this article. Why are Americans so obsessed with protein? Blame MAGA from the Liver King to the podcast bros. Okay. Oh, here's the whole thing, I guess. Anyway, let's see. I don't have a good sense of what's driving that right now, other than it just the usual manosphere or manomania here in the US. Peter Cohen, an internist at Cambridge Health Alliance and an associate professor at Harvard Medical School. Everyone's letting their testosterone out these days. What? Studies show that over the last 15 to 30 years, testosterone in males has decreased by 20 to 25%, and there are at least 20 distinct studies or reviews explicitly linking increased protein intake to longevity or positive related health outcomes. The article goes on cherry pick. I guess they're saying cultural nonsense and to bash leading longevity research. Peter Attia, MD, and Stanford PhD Andrew Huberman without any substantial scientific backing. And of course, this made up problem is one of the many reasons to hate the Orange Man and RFK Jr., along with the MAGA movement. In 25 plus years of personal training, I've worked with all types of political persuasions, always striving to remain neutral and objective because I care about their health thriving, period. You feel like an affordable, healthy pea or whey protein supplement, okay, you could go there. So, yeah, I don't know who this guy is. The Liver King is the biggest clown in the circus. What? Yeah, what the hell is this? Because I've never heard of him before. Let's see what.
Why Liver King sleeps in a wooden tank bed. There's no off-gassing chemicals that are possibly carcinogenic, but definitely hormone disrupting.
What? Your mattress is hormone disrupting chemicals? Other than the fact that it's really comfortable and objectively beats lying in a fucking wooden bed for 99% of all people. But whatever, sleep quality is overrated.
No metal springs, no real mattress, which prevents you from getting your deepest, most restorative sleep.
That's fucking literally backwards. Guys, try to monitor your sleep quality when you sleep on a really comfortable, cushy bed versus a completely hard bed made of wood. Very few people will prefer a wooden bed versus a real bed. It's not rocket science.
Okay, yeah, I don't know this guy. It says Liver King was on steroids. I don't know. It leaked emails show that Liver King was taking almost 12K worth of pharmaceutical HGH per month, 3 injections per day, all while promoting his brand of holistic lifestyle ancestral tenets and eating raw meat on camera. I mean, whatever. I don't know who this guy is. This is Primal Fast Food, Liver King's Steak and Eggs, Nut Sausage 1, Fertilized Eggs 4, Prep Time 0, hand caught by LK Chef Lionel. I mean, like I said, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if I would sit there and eat a bunch of stuff, but it says people asked what the Liver King looked like beardless using AI technology and 400 hours of running sequence through a neural network. I've created the most accurate rendering available. Ew. That's ick. Liver King goes vegan for 30 days. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. Oh, there's JP Reacts. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think men need testosterone, but I don't know about all that. Whatever this is. Oh, Lord. Oh, my God. That he is back on steroids? Really? That's how he got so big. But
206 pounds in December. And then I got down to all the way down to 182. So I lost over 20 pounds. You know, and anybody who interacts with me in real life will tell you I look leaner. For anybody who doesn't believe me, all you have to do is look at my social media photos. Look at it from December to now and tell me that you can't tell the difference. Massive difference. I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like the idea of losing.
I don't know. Says the mainstream media is trying to vilify Liver King for his high protein diet as they cannot stand what he has achieved through natural nutrition. I don't know. Says the Liver King's apologies BS, but here's why you should be pissed. Oh, I guess because he lied about using the steroids.
The Liver King is on steroids. Had that.
I'm making this video to apologize.
You didn't just do that. You made fun of people. You called them subprimals, and you made jokes about people who said you were on steroids.
This is a complicated topic, at least to me it is.
But what's complicated about it? Not lying and profiting off of lies to millions of people? Doesn't seem that complicated to me, but then again, you know, I got this thing like ethics and integrity and stuff.
Yes, I've done steroids, and yes, I am on steroids.
But only primal ones.
Liver King, the public figure, was an experiment to spread the message, to bring awareness to the 4,000 people a day who kill themselves.
What the actual... The Liver King was an experiment to bring awareness to suicide? I'm sorry, what does eating raw organ meat have to do with bringing awareness to suicide? And if you just wanted to bring awareness to suicide, why do you need to sell supplements based off of your lifestyle, which was apparently pinning yourself multiple times per day, and not your ancestral tenets?
So I made it my job to model, teach, and preach a simple, elegant solution called ancestral living.
And you just need to get on $12,000 of steroids a month as well. We judge others by their actions. We judge ourselves by our intentions.
I mean, there's extremes, I guess, on either end. So somebody's going to say racist or working out is racist, or you're going to have somebody like this that's doing steroids to look a certain way to the public and then come to find out it's not true, you know, that he's doing all this stuff out of the abilities I guess he has. I mean, I don't know what to really say about all this. It's just ridiculous. So working out's racist and taking not hormones, but protein is bad too. So I was like, you can't win for losing with this stuff. But anyway, they did talk about it on Gutfeld this morning. I just thought I'd show you all those few things because it's pretty ridiculous. Anyway, like I said, I don't know this Liver King dude, but I don't think I would hang my hat on just full-blown that kind of protein, like raw meats and stuff. But you got to do your thing, whatever. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good afternoon. I'll probably get Lefty's Losing to put up because there was some gold stuff in there too. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.